Hi everyone and welcome to my morning report analysis videos on Tuesday 28th of February with me, which Market Analyst at Asset Markets. We've got sort of fairly quiet morning actually, a little bit of direction on the yen but nothing really across the Forex majors other than that little bit of sort of downside just developing on the equity markets, but generally speaking markets are fairly settled. This comes ahead of this big policy speech that Donald Trump's got tonight to Congress, where he's expected to lay out the $54 billion increase in defence spending, fully funded apparently by sort of admin cuts and cuts to international aid, but the market's sort of looking more for, I think, the changes to taxation really, and also possible sort of infrastructure spending as well. Now it's interesting that we've seen Treasury yields started to pull higher, bounced off the key support on the 2-year and the 10-year. Oh, wrong one. And the 10-year, bouncing off those key supports, and that came on the sort of speech by Robert Kaplan, the Fed member, and he was sort of relatively hawkish, and the sort of markets are now sort of pushing out, thinking as though the possibility of maybe March now. You've got a speech by Janet Yellen on Friday along with Stanley Fischer as well, so it'll be interesting to see how that moves these sort of expectations of a March hike. But certainly on the Fed funds futures, the expectations of March are increasing at the moment, and it'll be interesting to see how that goes, because the Fed doesn't tend to want to move historically without the market really having a proper pricing of the move, which it hasn't got at the moment. So we have seen that sort of move affecting the markets there. But in terms of economic announcements, we've got just US data really today. What's that doing there? Here we go. Just basically the US data. You got the second reading of GDP at 1.30, expected to be slightly revised higher to 2.1% now. That 3.2 was second reading of Q3, so not massively helpful from Reuters, thank you. But 1.9 was the first reading in the advanced stage of GDP, and expected to be just mildly revised higher. And then we've got other data points such as the Case-Shiller home prices index, expected to stay at 5.3%. Consumer confidence expected to remain strong at 111, whilst the Chicago PMI, which disappointed quite strongly last month, expected to improve to 53. And the Richmond Fed as well, also this afternoon. So quite a lot going on US side, but mainly sort of focusing on the Donald Trump speech today. Now my chart of the day is the Kiwi. And the Kiwi has been consolidating really. It sort of rolled over, didn't it, and broke back under that 72.40 level. And that 72.40 has become a pivot. So that was the high back in December, support of a range, and now it's become the sort of pivot again. But you look historically as well, it is a sort of level that the market does tend to move around, certainly since September anyway. So it is a key level that the market is looking out for, and it's sort of failed underneath that in the last few days and just dropped away a bit. But the momentum indicators are fairly neutral. RSI around 50, MACD lines flattening, stochastics basically flat. It's sort of developing this range between 71, sort of 71.25 and 71.30, up towards 72.40. So you're sort of looking at that as a sort of break point. If you break down from that, you'd sort of measure the sort of width of that range, which is around about sort of 110 ticks or so, and then project it either way, so depending on which side you break. But certainly at the moment the market is fairly neutral, isn't it? Nothing really doing on either sort of the daily or the hourly chart with any sort of real directional moves. Oscillation on the RSI between 30 and 70, MACD lines basically flat. So yeah, you are still waiting for this catalyst. Now near term you've got a mild negative bias from that sort of move down towards below sort of 72 figure yesterday, 71.80, but nothing really doing. So you're sort of waiting for catalyst. Could be Donald Trump today, but it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. But I wish you good luck in your trading today on the Kiwi dollar, and I will speak to you later, I think.